Whether you're a tech enthusiast, industry professional, or just curious about the future of AI Agents Unleashed will keep you informed and inspired. Buckle up and get ready to unleash the potential of AI.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're going to be looking at some really interesting AI research today. And not just the stuff you hear about every day, like AI making art or music or writing. This is like next level AI. We're talking AI that could diagnose illnesses, or self-driving cars that can practically see into the future, or even AI that can simulate entire civilizations. It's crazy.
Yeah, the range of AI research that's being published right now is just mind-blowing. For today's Deep Dive, we've got a stack of over 40 research papers, all published just today, January 3rd, 2025. And they show just how fast this field is moving.
We've got papers on basically everything AI, from the itty-gritty details of how to even judge if an AI is good, to AI that's learning new things like a student in a really fast-paced seminar. Plus, we'll be talking about some really cool stuff like AI that can explain why it made a decision, AI that can drive a car, and even AI that can help us explore outer space.
One that really jumped out at me was grade inflation in generative models. It asks a really important question. How do we actually measure if the stuff AI makes is actually any good?
Yeah, that's a good point. It seems like every day there's a new AI that can write a poem or compose a symphony or something. But how do we know if it's actually like groundbreaking or just a really good imitation?
Well, this research is suggesting that the ways we usually measure how good generative AI is might be too easy. It's almost like there's some grade inflation going on, meaning AI is getting a better score than it deserves. And this could be a big problem, especially if we're relying on these models to design important things like new medicines or parts for airplanes.
Okay, so that's kind of scary. It's like giving an AI an A+ for drawing a stick figure when we should be expecting the Mona Lisa. I mean, what's the solution here?
Well, this paper proposes something called the Eden score. It's supposed to be more in line with how humans would judge things. So basically, they're trying to create a better measuring stick for AI creativity.
So imagine a future where you have a scorecard telling you how creative and original an AI really is. That would be game-changing for so many fields. Okay, well, let's switch gears a bit and talk about how AI is learning. We've got these two papers on active learning, where the AI gets pickier about what it learns, kind of like a student who goes from just absorbing everything to actively seeking out the most useful info.
Exactly. And the papers are efficient human-in-the-loop active learning and toward information theoretic active inverse reinforcement learning. Both of them are trying to make active learning even smarter. One of them is even looking at how AI can figure out not just which data is important to learn from, but also how to learn from it most effectively.
So it's like the AI is saying, hey, don't just give me the answer, show me how to get there myself.
Right. And the other paper is diving into how AI can pick out the most useful scenarios to learn from, especially when it's trying to figure out what humans prefer.
Oh, that's super interesting. This could totally change how we do things like personalized medicine or make AI assistants that really get what individual people need.
Yeah. It's really cool to think about AI that can actually adapt to your learning style and give you educational content tailored just for you. Or even imagine AI-powered prosthetic limbs that can learn from how you move and adjust their responses in real time.
The possibilities are pretty much endless. Okay, let's move on to something that sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Explainable AI. It's all about making sure AI can explain why it made a certain decision, especially when those decisions impact our lives.
Right. And we have a paper here called Projected X, Enhancing Generation and Explainable AI for Prostate Cancer. And it is focusing on making AI in medical imaging more transparent.
So basically, instead of just spitting out a diagnosis, this AI could point to the exact parts of a scan that led it to that conclusion. I bet that would make people a lot more trusting of AI in healthcare.
Definitely. It would be like having an AI doctor who can show you their work, so to speak, and explain exactly why they arrived at a certain diagnosis. That level of transparency is really important for making sure we're using AI responsibly in healthcare.
Okay, let's switch gears again and talk about self-driving cars. I mean, it's one thing for an AI to write a jingle, but navigating a traffic jam in rush hour, that takes some serious intelligence.
You're absolutely right. Autonomous vehicles need to be able to understand their surroundings just as well as a human driver. And that means not just recognizing objects, but also predicting how they'll behave.
And that's where those large language models, or LLMs, come in. I saw a couple papers on that. World Knowledge Enhanced Reasoning, using instruction-guided interactor in autonomous driving, and Dream Drive, generative 4D scene modeling from street view images. It sounds like they're trying to use LLMs to give self-driving cars something like world knowledge.
Exactly. It's like giving a self-driving car access to a giant encyclopedia of common sense.
Eh.
That way it could predict that a cyclist might swerve to avoid a pothole or that a pedestrian might step off the curb.
So it's not just reacting to what its sensors see, but actually anticipating what might happen next.
Right? And that's just the beginning. We've got a bunch of papers showing how AI is going way beyond text and images to tackle some really challenging problems.
Like designing new materials. I think I saw a paper on that.
Yes, Deep Discrete Encoders looks at how AI can be used to design new materials at the molecular level. Think about the possibilities. Lighter and stronger building materials, more efficient solar panels, maybe even self-healing fabrics.
Hold on a sec. Self-healing fabrics. Okay, now that's something I need to hear more about.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But AI isn't stopping there. It's also being used to analyze economic demand, which could help us predict market trends and respond to them more effectively.
And I saw a paper on AI being used to better detect silicosis and pneumonia. It's amazing to think that AI could diagnose those conditions earlier and potentially save lives.
There's even research on using AI to make our data centers more efficient, which could save a lot of energy and be better for the environment.
And I can't forget about the paper on AI predicting spacecraft trajectories. It seems like AI is literally reaching for the stars. But before we get lost in space, let's take a closer look at some of these incredible applications.
So let's jump into that paper on silicosis and pneumonia detection. Innovative silicosis and pneumonia classification. It's a really good example of how we can use AI to solve real-world problems in medicine.
You know, when I first saw the title, I was like, wait, silicosis? I haven't heard that word since like a history class about the Industrial Revolution or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's true. Silicosis is often linked to industrial jobs like mining and construction, but it's still a problem today. What's cool about this research is it's using AI to find a new way to detect silicosis and pneumonia, and to detect them earlier and more accurately.
So it's not just about figuring out if someone has these conditions, but catching them early enough to actually do something about it. That could be huge for people who are at risk.
Absolutely. Early diagnosis is so important for treating these conditions, and the results from this paper are really promising. It looks like AI could completely change how we diagnose and manage these respiratory diseases.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something a little more, well, space age. The paper on diffusion policies for generative modeling of spacecraft trajectories really caught my eye. To be honest, anything about space just gets me excited.
I get it. This research is looking at how we can use AI to come up with better paths for spacecraft, paths that are more efficient and can adapt to different situations.
So instead of just plotting a straight line from point A to point B, this AI could create a path that takes into account things like gravity, fuel efficiency, and even unexpected obstacles.
Exactly. It's like having an AI navigator that's constantly adjusting the spacecraft's course to make the journey as smooth as possible. This could be a total game changer for exploring deep space. We could travel farther and explore more efficiently.
I can already picture AI-powered probes flying through interstellar space, discovering new worlds, and maybe even finding signs of alien life. But okay, let's come back down to Earth for a minute and talk about something a bit more down to Earth. Data centers.
Right, those massive buildings that are basically the heart of the internet. And unfortunately, they often use a ton of energy. But the paper Dynamic Optimization of Storage Systems using reinforcement learning techniques is looking at how AI could make those data centers run more efficiently.
If I remember correctly, this research is using something called reinforcement learning to optimize data storage in real time. Right.
You got it. It's like having an AI system that's constantly monitoring and tweaking the way data is stored to make sure everything's running at peak performance. This can make things faster and more efficient and also cut down on how much energy is being used.
So it's not just about making sure our cat videos load faster, it's about making data centers more environmentally friendly too.
Exactly. This research shows how AI can be a powerful tool for tackling both performance and sustainability issues in tech.
Okay, so going back to those self-healing fabrics for a second. I know we've been jumping around a bit, but that one really stuck with me. That paper, Deep Discrete Encoders, talked about how AI could help design new materials at the molecular level, and that could have a huge impact on so many industries.
Yeah, that paper was really fascinating. It really highlighted how AI could speed up the process of creating materials with very specific qualities, like strength, flexibility, conductivity, or even the ability to repair itself.
Imagine clothes that can fix themselves, or bridges that can withstand earthquakes better, or even batteries that can hold a charge for way longer. It sounds like science fiction, but this research makes it seem like it could actually happen.
It really shows you how powerful AI can be. not just for analyzing data we already have, but for coming up with entirely new solutions that humans might never have thought of. But of course, with that power comes the need to be responsible and make sure we're developing AI in a way that's safe and ethical.
Speaking of responsibility, I was really intrigued by that paper about AI designing AI, or what they call auto ML. It's exciting and a little bit freaky at the same time, isn't it?
It definitely raises some interesting questions.
Yeah.
The idea of AI that can create and optimize other AI is advancing really quickly, and it could make AI development much faster. But it also means we need to be even more careful about understanding and controlling these systems as they become more and more complex.
It makes you wonder if we're on the verge of creating some kind of AI singularity, where AI becomes so smart that it surpasses human intelligence and basically takes on a life of its own. Do you think that's a real possibility, or is that just Hollywood hype?
Well, the singularity is a popular topic in science fiction, but most experts agree it's still pretty far-fetched.
Yeah.
The AI we have now is impressive, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near having the kind of intelligence or consciousness that humans have.
Okay, that's a bit of a relief. But it's clear that AI is evolving incredibly fast, and it's going to change pretty much everything about our lives. Which brings up another big question. How do we make sure AI is used to benefit everyone and not just a select few?
That's a really important question, and it's something researchers, policymakers, and people in the industry are all thinking hard about. We need to consider the ethics of AI development. We need to make sure AI is fair and unbiased. And we need to create safeguards to prevent any unintended consequences.
Definitely. It's like we're at a crossroads, and the decisions we make about AI today will have huge consequences for generations to come. It's a big responsibility. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface of all this AI research.
We have, but there's one thing that keeps coming up in all these papers. This idea of AI as a tool for collaboration.
Yeah, instead of replacing humans, it seems like AI is becoming more like a partner.
Right. Like that research we talked about on AI helping with medical diagnoses, it's not about getting rid of doctors. It's about giving them an extra tool to help make those diagnoses more accurate.
And remember those self-driving cars. The AI isn't taking over completely. It's more like it's enhancing what humans can do, like by reacting faster or seeing potential dangers that a human driver might miss.
It's a really different way of thinking about AI. Instead of being scared of it as a threat, we can see it as something that can help us. It's all about combining the strengths of humans and machines to achieve amazing things.
And speaking of achieving amazing things, what about using AI to tackle some of the world's biggest problems? Things like climate change, poverty, disease, the really tough stuff. Do you think AI could help us find solutions to those kinds of global challenges?
I definitely do. In fact, there's a whole area of research focused on using AI for social good.
That's really good to hear. What are some examples of how AI is being used to address those kinds of big issues?
Well, for instance, researchers are using AI to develop more efficient renewable energy systems
Yeah.
and to predict and try to lessen the impacts of climate change. They're even using AI to personalize education, which could help lift people out of poverty.
Wow, those are some seriously ambitious goals. It sounds like AI could really be a force for good in the world.
I think so. But it's important to remember that AI is just a tool. And like any tool, it can be used in good ways or bad ways. It's our responsibility to make sure that AI is developed and used ethically and that it truly benefits humanity.
It's a big responsibility, and it's going to take a lot of careful thought and collaboration. We need people from all different fields: scientists, engineers, ethicists, policymakers, and everyday people. We all need to work together to shape the future of AI in a way that's good for everyone.
I totally agree. And I think these kinds of deep dives are a great way to get those conversations started. By looking at the latest research and talking about the potential impact of AI, we can help people understand this complex technology better and encourage everyone to participate in shaping its future.
Well, we've definitely covered a lot of ground today, from the nuts and bolts of how to judge AI models to the mind-blowing possibilities of AI in space exploration, healthcare, and beyond. It's been an amazing journey.
It really has. And I think the biggest takeaway is that AI is constantly changing. It's a field that's full of both incredible potential and potential risks. By staying informed and engaged, we can all play a part in making sure AI benefits humanity as a whole.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into these fascinating research papers, we'll leave you with this one final thought. AI is not something out of a sci-fi movie anymore. It's a force that's changing our world right now. The question is, what role will you play in shaping its future?